Hello, my dear friends, my dear audience. Welcome to my show, Jack Chow on East West with G&E. Every now and then, we drag it over to look back into history, to compare with the present time, to see where we are missing or what we are missing. Now, once again, we're talking about an issue that we have been talking about, we have been dragging along for quite some time. To me, ever since I sit on this seat doing this job, several times we talked about it, still we do not see where we're heading or we are going. We do not see the final target yet. Joining me today are several, I would say, wonderful human beings. They are my closest friend, not only politically, but also day-to-day life. When that is concerned. It is an issue of a long time overdue. It is the issue of the 1882 law of the Chinese Exclusion Act, which was, of course, when you're flipping back a book of history, you do not see every page as bright as today. Even today is not that bright, but there are relatively darker pages. And this page we're talking about, is the darkest of the American history as a nation so much proud. With the 1882 Chinese Exclusion Act ever passed into law, people started to suffer. Until the time it was terminated, it was aborted, people still suffering. And the the hangovers are still here, some even dare say. Joining me in the great discussion is my big beautiful lady friend, Betty Tom Chu. Hi, Betty. Once again, welcome to my show.
Hi, Jack. Welcome back from China.
All right. Oh, you know my trip, right? I just came back last night.
Yes.
It was a smooth flight.
Wonderful.
I slept all over. Okay,
well,
anyway.
We hope that this Senate joint resolution will have equally smooth sailing.
Very good, very good. It was last night, exactly probably the moment I landed in LAX. A brand new version of the SJR 23 was created. So with the news, we start the show. How about you bring us some background of the SJR 23, please?
Well, going back to the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, and for many generations of Chinese, that law has prospered in terms of allowing legislative and legal discrimination against the Chinese here in America.
Specifically.
So what has happened is that in the year 2009, California legislature issued an expression of regret, as well as Congress, in the years 2011 and 2012. However, all the other minorities received an apology from the legislatures, whereas the Chinese Americans have never received an apology, and there's a big difference between an apology and regret. So Senator Bob Huff introduced on April 10th, 2014, Senate Joint Resolution number 23. In the original form, the California legislature in that particular bill apologizes to the Chinese Americans for California discriminatory laws and discriminatory constitutional provisions against the Chinese. And in addition, it also has the request from the California legislature to Congress to apologize to the Chinese Americans. Now, Jack, when we first started this project, the Chinese Consolidated Benevolent Association of Los Angeles joined us in this project. And with that, the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors unanimously passed a resolution supporting congressional apologies. In addition to that, the City of Monterey Park also did the same, while other community-based organizations also supported this project. So that's where we are today with the amended version of Senate Joint Resolution 23 requesting for the congressional apology with an agreement between Senator Huff and Senator De Leon. The California apology is now embodied in Senate Concurrent Resolution number 122.
All right, very good, very good. I should say thank you very much for the brief introduction about the short background of this, what is all SJR 23. And what I think, and I owe my audience, is a little background information about this great lady, great friend of mine. Betty Tom Chu, I knew her first impression was that she was the number one. She was the number one Chinese female attorney down San Diego in California history. Right? During her time, for a young girl to get a higher education as high as law school graduate, it is almost mission impossible. Not only did she succeed, but also she succeeded in a much better way. She took a seat. She took the bar exam. She became a glorious lawyer at that time. Well, of course, that's a start. That's a start for her fight to bring justice back to reality. So in bringing justice back to reality, there are different ways. A little later, she took another route, became a banker that I know of, banker of two banks, right?
Yes.
Right. And she became a political leader. She became a member of the city council of City of Monterey Park for twice,
yes.
2 terms, right? And then she was once a candidate for congressional seat of 39th district. Was that 39?
They've changed the numbers.
They've changed the number back
Yes,
then
I
because the
don't-
redistricting, right? Back
Yes.
then it was. Anyway, and then she is a figure, public figure, so well loved for her deep and profound involvement in the CACA activities, Chinese American Citizen Alliance, right?
Yes.
It's a beautiful name. It's a national organization, and she is a part of it, a great part of it. So for that, I believe that, you know, our people, especially our young people, take everything. They're so used to take everything for granted. There goes the sun. Well, there goes the sun every day. There goes the moon. There goes the moon every day. However, there might be the case, but, you know, in life, in real life, you have to realize in history somewhere, somehow, there has to be somebody, some group of people putting up efforts to make it what you see as for granted, right? So for that, I'll give you my both hands up.
Thank you, Jack.
Right, good. Now, talking about the efforts, talking about 2 versions of the SJR 23 is so new, I'm even got it, taking a hard time on my lips anyway. So what's the difference between the new version and the old version?
The original version of Senate Joint Resolution that was introduced on April 10th, 2014, did 2 things. Number one, it was the California legislative apology for the Chinese exclusion laws in California or anti-Chinese discrimination in California, as well as to request Congress to issue apologies to the Chinese Americans. Well, you say, well, why does California need to apologize? Number one, California had its own laws that it legislated against the Chinese, like you could not own property. You could not be buried in certain areas in California. They exacted hard and imposing taxes on the Chinese that were not imposed on anyone else. But more importantly, the California legislature in the 1800s were very vocal and strong in their support of the Chinese exclusion laws. And the Chinese Americans received an expression of regret from the California legislature in the year 2009. However, California has issued apologies to several other minorities. All the minorities received an apology. The Chinese Americans were the only ones that received an expression of regret. So that was why it was originally included in Senate Joint Resolution number 23.
All right. All these documents putting together, regardless of difference in between or among them, we say there are voices representing California to push the Congress of the United States to give us apology, not a regret. So hold on with us. We'll be right back.